We've talked about this manager who had quite a lot of praise last year, and rightly so after a bad start. We've talked about him this year in previous games. Wolves game, where he was talking nonsense, particularly with the Anana incident. The Arsenal game, where he was talking utter nonsense, which he's reiterating there. This is the most deluded manager currently in the Premier League by some stretch, right? How can you be unlucky when you have a clear penalty not given to Wolves when you've been dominated at the end of the game? How can you have a dubious offside against Forest and then a Marcus Rashford dive for a penalty? How can you still say that Rasmus Højlund in the Arsenal game was a penalty kick and then talk about an offside? Offsides are not subjective. They're black and white. It's on or off. And then to talk about this game in fine moments, the ball was out of play. Shall we change the laws for Erik Ten Hag and Man United, or shall we go with the ball was out of play? And by the way, they had a very good 10 to 15 minutes at the start of this game. And then they were absolutely schooled by a Brighton side that also made 6 changes. They made 6 changes from the team that beat Newcastle. They've got Man United rejects like Danny Welbeck. They've got people like Lamptey, who was no longer wanted at Chelsea, and he's a right back playing at left back. Right? They have a bunch of guys that nobody else at elite level really wanted, and De Zerbi has coached the hell out of them. And they completely, and the way they played it, I mean, Lewis Dunk is not the quickest player by a long stretch. He played for England at Hampden in midweek. That guy just never seems flustered to me, and it starts from steal in goal to Dunk to the fullbacks to Gross to De Hood to Matoma. The way they play is brilliant, and it's no surprise the result. But what is a surprise is this guy managing Man United who thinks they're just unlucky. What utter nonsense that is.
You can't really think that, can you, Stevie? It's one thing to go out there and...
It's beginning to look as though he does. You know, I understood it after the Wolves. I understood it a little bit after Arsenal, you're trying to hold on to ifs and ands. But to sit and watch this game, in the second half in particular, and watch a Brighton side, Manchester United had no idea how to get the ball back. You know, they score to make it 3-1, and you think, well, it's Old Trafford. The crowd's going to get loud. All of a sudden, there's going to be a spark. And what did Brighton do? They just take the air out of the game by knocking it around, knock it through the middle, knock it forward. You know what? Let's start again. They go all the way back to the goalie. Manchester United had no idea how to get the ball. And that's partly due to Manchester United and partly due to the brilliance of the way they've been coached and how comfortable and composed they are with the ball. It's absolutely frightening. If you dropped a ball at any spot on the Old Trafford field today, the only thing you know that was going to happen is Brighton were going to have it for the next 5 minutes. And anybody in a red jersey wasn't even going to get a smell of it. They got... I agree, for 20 minutes, it was like there was an energy and a desire, and it's like, you know, and again, ifs and ands, had they taken an opportunity. But after that, I'm sorry, this was one-sided after that.
It's not ifs and buts.
Well, you can have whatever you want.
Don joins us. Don, Stevie talks about the noise at Old Trafford. One of the noisiest times is when Martial came on, which just shows the whole frustration from this home crowd at the moment.
Do you know what, Dan? I think for the first time, I think since Ten Hag's been there, I think he's a man under pressure. He talked there and sticking to the principles, sticking to the plan. Well, they're 9 points off Man City already. They've lost 3 out of 5 games. Today, they got absolutely, to use Craig's words, schooled. They got pumped. I mean, De Zerbi's tactics were absolutely spot on. And the 2 players I think I felt sorry for the most, because I would imagine myself and Craig, not sure about Stevie in central midfield, but we've played in a 3 before when a team's got a 5, or, you know, Lallana being the sort of top of the diamond. And the work that Scott McTominay had to do by being a central midfield player, running out to Matoma or running out to Tariq Lamptey, was off the charts. On the left-hand side, Eriksen had to do the same down Veltman's side or down Adingra's side. So tactically, Ten Hag got it wrong. And you could see the patterns of the game. The boys are right. The first 10 minutes, there was energy. And Marcus Rashford for Man United was the best player in the park. And for the first time I think watching Casemiro today, he really struggled. He struggled badly. And at his age, at only 30, he looked a player that was treading water today. But in terms of De Zerbi school and Ten Hag, 100%. Because in the second half, they literally passed them off the park. And the numbers proved it before. In the graphic, it was 600 to 400. It was 56% possession. How many teams do that at Old Trafford? It was an amazing performance.
Casemiro looks as if he's been like that most of the season, to be fair.
Yeah.
And it's maybe not all his fault, but there's no doubt he's heavy-legged.
If you feel me, smash the like button below.